westernmost lane of the easternmost pool. Yes. All right. All right, this is our call to order. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Any absent commissioners tonight?
No.
I don't think so. Excellent. The Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes comment on items relevant to the Planning and Zoning Commission not already scheduled on tonight's agenda. In accordance with the Texas Attorney General's opinion, any public comment that is made on an item that is not on the published agenda will only be heard by the Commission. No formal action, discussion, deliberation, or comment will be made by the Commission. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be asked to state his or her name and address for the public record. Is there anyone present wishing to address the Commission? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item 3, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the Commission and will be enacted by one motion. These items include preliminary and final plats, where staff has found compliance with all minimum subdivision regulations. All items approved by consent are approved with any and all staff recommendations. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If any commissioner desires to discuss an item on the consent agenda, it will be moved to the regular agenda for further consideration. Are there any items the commission wishes to remove from the consent agenda?
No.
All right, hearing none, I will read them for the record. Item 3A, 2026-0563, approve the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes for the May 4th, 2026 regular meeting. Item 3B, 2026-0572, approve the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes for the May 12th, 2026 joint work session meeting with City Council. Item 3C, 2026-0573, approve the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes for the May 12th joint meeting with City Council. Item 3D, 2026-0583, approving a preliminary plan for 18008 Wilkie Ridge Lane, 1 acre tract situated in the John Van Winkle Survey, Abstract 787, Travis County, Texas, located at 18008 Wilkie Ridge Lane, to be known as 18008 Wilkie Ridge Lane Preliminary Plan, PP 2025-000516. I'll accept a motion and a second to approve items 3A, 3B, 3C, and 3D.
Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. A second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Mr. Murray, you get that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Item 4, public hearing. The Commission welcomes comment on the following items. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be asked to state his or her name and address for the public record.
All right, good evening, everyone. Tonight we're looking at a replat. This property is located on the south of West Pecan Street, just to the west of South 5th Street. Currently, there is 0.72 acres of land that was platted back in 1994. This replat here is going to be adding an additional 1.38. So what we're looking at is a 2 acre, just over a 2 acre lot. You may have seen this one in the past. This property has received a special use permit to be allowed for a lounge. With this new configuration, that will still exist and be ongoing. Looking at the final plat, meets all in state local regulations, and staff recommends approval. In our staff report, we had mentioned upon conditions for the TIA approval. That is no longer the situation. We are recommending full approval of the plat tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Any additional comments? All right. I will accept a motion and a second for approval of item 4A.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Aye. Second.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Nope.
I need to back up. Sorry. Robert's rules. I need to close discussion. I need a motion and a second to close public hearing on the item.
Motion to close.
A second.
All those in favor of closing the public comment signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. I will accept a motion and a second for the proposed item 4A.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item 5, discuss and consider. 5A, 2026-0536. We will discuss and consider action regarding an application for an architectural waiver for property addressed as 115 East Main Street to be known as the Prost Accessory Food Service Structure Architectural Waiver. ARC 2026-00178.
Good evening, Chair and Commission. So this is an item for property that is in our downtown area. So it's the on the picture on the left is that particular property is bound by gold, and you can see the front of the facade faces out towards Main Street, and in the back is a beer garden that serves Prost Ale House. And then the picture on the right hand side is just a Google image from Railroad, kind of looking back at that back portion of the property. That white building that you can see back there was a food truck that served their use and was in operations back there through a temporary use permit. The owner has made a decision and is looking to bring food to their operation, but do it on a more permanent basis versus relying on a food truck. And so that's what leads us into this architectural waiver tonight. So again, the architectural waiver is to discuss the architectural requirements related to the new structure. So our downtown code actually has a requirement of multi-story, and then for any new commercial development has to have 2 architectural elevations that you can choose from. In general, that's supposed to apply towards principal structures. However, it does not exempt accessory structures. So in this case, when they came forward, they're looking to do a little smaller structure. Actually, it's 2 shipping containers. They're 15 feet long, 15 by 8, as each of them. They'd be shaped or arranged in an L shape. And located in their beer garden area, just to the south. So the materials that they're proposing, again, it's a shipping container, so it's a metal container. They're also proposing to add some additional architectural elements, which would be some rock, more around that serving area. The idea is that this particular structure would complement maybe that beer garden a little bit more than having to go multi-storied and try to mimic what the downtown code says for a principal structure. On the screen, and was also included in your packet if that's a little dark, that represents what they're looking to do. Again, it's trying to bring food into the downtown area, trying to establish more vibrancy, and so they're coming to the Planning and Zoning Commission asking for permission to be able to do this particular operation. You can see at the bottom left-hand side, that L shape, that's generally where they're looking to locate it. Would be directly off of the alley. The setbacks will be in compliance because downtown code actually has a zero foot for buildings. This is a project summary. Again, looking at 2 shipping containers arranged in the L shape. The materials would be black corrugated metal with brick veneer. The idea is just to have that pedestrian experience, and so in the future maybe there's a way to expand that, and maybe it's more activation even off of the alley there. But today it's just to support their patrons. And then you can see the compatibility pieces there. It would be complementary to the structure on the back, adding that rock, and then the materials, the metal kind of reflects the stairway that they built back there that also has a patio. On the screen here are the 2 different architectural styles that our downtown code currently allows for when it comes to non-residential. Again, this establishes a style that we see directly on Main Street, and Prost actually has one of these styles, more in that Queen Anne type of style. But to put a building in the back off of their beer garden, they would either need to, expand their building or try and get this accessory structure. When looking at architectural waivers, the Unified Development Code gives you some parameters there, basically looking at the area and determining whether or not it's harmonious and whether it makes sense. And that it's not contrary to public interest and the spirit of the code would be preserved. When staff looked at the request and had conversation with them, they're trying to propose something that will again bring vibrancy, brings more food options to the area. It's a permanent structure versus it being relying on a food truck. And the architectural style, when looking at that back beer garden area, it actually coincides with that motif a little bit more than requiring them to build a two-story building. So staff does recommend approval. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any questions from anybody? All right.
I think it's cool.
I'm sorry, I need you to phrase that in the form of a question.
Put me down for that.
All right. I will accept a motion and a second for approval of the item.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to item 5B, item 2026-0568. We'll discuss and consider recommending approval of the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan for Program Year 2026.
Good evening, Commissioners. I don't often get to present to you. I don't think I actually ever have. I know. I'm not even going to sit down for this. So, before you tonight, CDBG is Community Development Block Grant. Sorry, my head's in a different space. So, the CDBG program provides annual grants on a formula basis to entitled communities to develop viable urban communities. We actually have two areas. We have one down in Gatlinburg, which is a little bit higher. We're wondering if that one's going to stay around. And we also have one out on the west side of town. These areas benefit primarily low to moderate income persons. One thing that's interesting about Pflugerville is we actually have a waiver where ours is a little bit reduced from the 51% down to, I think, 43.89. So, selection of projects. We do have an action plan. You have that in your packet, and these must meet the national objectives that require benefits to low to moderate income persons, prevents or eliminates blight, other urgent community development needs. So you can see here, this is what was done in 2024, I want to say, in that action plan that you have. So infrastructure and community services were the top priorities that we identified at that point. We also have public buildings and facilities, economic development, housing, and homelessness. But you can see those ranked a little bit lower. For the 2026 project priorities, infrastructure, programs, and administration were those top three that had been identified, and that's what we have been sticking with. That is also what council has given some feedback on. So for this year, what we're looking at is the construction of Parkway Drive. That would help finish that out. You may remember that you saw that also on the CIP. So if this is awarded and we do get these funds, that CIP item would be reduced by that approximate $257,000. The second to that would be the youth and senior scholarships, again at $10,000, just like the last program year. And administration is $65,000 in part because we have to do an impediment study, and we expect that it's going to be around $65,000 for that. So we do have a little bit of difference from last year, but we should still receive about a $350,000 grant from the state. So with that, I needed to update that slide. I apologize. June. This is obviously with you, but we are not going back to City Council on June 23rd because that is the meeting that was canceled instead of one in July. So we will be moving that to that first meeting in July. And then after that, it goes to City Council for approval. Then we will be submitting to HUD well prior to the August 16th deadline. It usually takes about 45 days to cure, and then we have about 7 days to fix any deficiencies. I don't think that's going to happen, but we do like to get that in just so we have a little bit more time and a little bit more leeway. So with that, I will certainly, I can answer questions as much as possible. And this is just something that we have to then, we have the public hearing at council. We have to come back, get the recommendation on if you agree with those three projects. I can put this back up on the screen, and then we will go back to council in July.
Director, for Parkway Drive, is this the entire road that is being done, or just the first part? Because you drive down a little ways and then the road changes. Now it has curves and things until it goes to the end
Correct.
in the cul-de-sac. So is this doing the entire road?
So this would be finishing out. So we already have a CIP project for Parkway Drive, and part of the last program year for 2025 actually did put money towards Parkway Drive. This would just be to finish that out.
Okay, because the part of the road with the curves is pretty bad also. So is it between CIP and this that the entire road's getting done?
It should be, yes. That's my understanding, is between the CIP project that is on right now that was already funded, and then this would just help alleviate or offset those funds. So we would actually free up a little bit if this is all approved.
Okay, and then I'd like to go back a little bit, in the consolidated plan for, I think it's 2024 to 2028.
Mm-hmm.
There was $15,000 spent on providing workforce training.
Correct.
Do you know if there was any success with that? Do we have any metrics? Because I noticed that there's nothing on this one for it.
We can certainly get you some. I think that was another underutilized program, and that's why we are no longer working with Workforce Solutions. That was one of the nonprofits we were able to work with to be able to provide some of those services. But then I know we went to youth and senior scholarships, and I think it was about $20,000. And in the last 2 program years, we've dropped that down to $10,000. We just weren't seeing the return on that investment, and we weren't really getting a lot of people to use them
Okay.
and use those dollars.
And the reason I'm asking is within the grant document, it talks about the improvements to Parkway Drive provide access to recreation and enrichment. But it just goes out to Pecan, and there's nowhere to go from that unless you have a car. So I don't know what the difference is besides making the road nicer and providing lights, but I don't see how it improves access to recreation and enrichment by doing that. And what the reason I'm asking that is I'm wondering if the money's better spent on something that will actually help our citizens that are low to moderate income instead of just putting money into a road.
Well, I think some of this is that because we only have those 2 areas, we do have to look at what the program, and right now infrastructure is one of the higher priorities of that consolidated plan. So that's why we've stuck with Parkway Drive. We know that has also been something that council, and specifically I think Councilman Rogers, has looked forward to actually have this project completed. But because we follow the consolidated plan, that's why we've always looked at that infrastructure project. We've already helped fund part of it, so we just want to finish this out.
Okay, thank you.
And go ahead. Well, remind me on this, so I've seen this, the consolidated, or community development block grant, I think every other year, is that right?
Because we just finished up a separate year, and then in a few years, you'll see it come back for a different consolidated plan, unless council had asked for an amendment of the existing plan. We should be starting that probably end of 28, early 29.
Right, and so those are, there's multiple zones, like literally
Yeah.
defined on a map. This is where those funds are able to be spent.
Yes, exactly.
Right, and so then, did Parkway Drive start in 24? Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay, because I also recall, not very hazy, about like maybe 22 when we had the scholarship programs and all that, and there was some positive response, positive engagement, but I guess just not a lot of sustained engagement in that way. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Director, one question, and this is new to me, obviously. Talk to me a bit about the scholarships, the 10,000. How do we come to that number, and how is it distributed? Just a bit more about the scholarship line.
So for the scholarships, my understanding is that typically if someone under 18 is on a reduced or free lunch, we just provide the paperwork, and they are able to participate in some of the recreational programs that are offered free of charge. For seniors, I believe it's just over 62. They do not have to show that. It's assumed because typically you would be on a fixed income, and so they are also able to participate. I will freely admit I have been in touch with HUD this week with our HUD representative, because we have gotten a few more questions on what exactly that could cover. Does it just cover a pool entry, or does it have to be a swim lesson? things of that nature that we're trying to see if there's anything that we can do that maybe broadens that a little bit so that we can try to use those funds and make sure that when we're getting the word out that we're telling them the breadth of what they could actually use those funds for.
Can't they also use that funds for Fetch a Ride to go to the rec center or to
I
like
know-
doctor's appointments?
Potentially, I think the issue is going to be is that you have that limited amount. I know that you were able to do that with when it was workforce because it was also the transportation. I don't believe that is the case right now, especially if it's going to be youth. I don't know if our Fetch a Ride with our services with Uber would be able to track that and then get that benefit back. We can certainly ask.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because, I mean, now we're going to have a great rec center.
Yeah.
So I think we would get more people using it.
I mean, we have a great rec.
Well, we have
Better
we're going to have
rec
a
center.
better, apologies, probably Parks and Rec, great center.
yeah,
But
I'll definitely ask.
Yeah.
I'll see if there is something because we can get in touch with both HUD and Fetch a Ride and see if that is a possibility. I can update you. I will update the commission if
Right.
prior to the next
because I'm
meeting.
just wondering if there's like a different code you could give to
100%.
reduce
We can
lunch
always
and-
check. And we may get a no, but I'll look.
Yeah.
Right.
And Director, this is a federal or state grant?
This is federal.
This is federal.
How is the scholarship opportunity communicated to folks? Like, how are they made aware that they might be able to utilize it?
Usually it's through flyers and then also just sending those things out to the individual parents. We work with the ISD. If it's for
Okay.
seniors, we're looking more at the senior facilities that are in town and getting the word out that way.
Okay.
There have been a lot of flyers. Kristen has done an amazing job.
It's also on the on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we try to put it out. A lot of people don't always check our website, but we try to get out there as much as possible.
So the construction of Parkway Drive, and I'm not as familiar, I was reading a little bit about it, but so the like reconstructing and doing projects on Parkway Drive, is that a benefit to like the holistic community, or is the goal of this type of grant to really target dollars to benefit low income or underserved populations? And if it is the second goal, how does doing this infrastructure project specifically support that population in that area instead of just being a benefit to just the entire community?
Right, so we only have those two areas we can pick from, and Parkway Drive was something that needed to get rebuilt, and so that's pretty much how that gets chosen, is it's in an area that's low to moderate income, and then because infrastructure was determined to be one of the top priorities in that 2024 plan, we looked at, well, is there anything that we can do with these funds? We have so little funds. You look at, we're getting around $350,000 a year that we have to pick and choose and try to maximize the projects. Obviously, $257,000 does not finish out a project. I think Parkway Drive was listed in the CIP for probably closer to 1.4, 1.5 million. So it does help benefit that area. It complies with all the federal requirements of CDBG grant. And what we're really just looking at doing is bettering an area that, yes, we would like to pay for, but if we have these funds, it can also help offset what the city's putting forward, and we can use part of that grant.
Okay, and I'm not familiar with this project, like what's in the CIP, but does it include kind of like walking, like, is it mostly a car experience, infrastructure improvement, or is it also like pedestrian walkability?
There will be walkability components just because of the minimum standards of the streets that we have to build in the city, so you would see those going in. I don't know how much connectivity, I don't think there's going to be a trail connectivity back to Parkway Drive at this point, but certainly it does improve the experience overall in that area.
And
that
safety,
walk
right?
around.
Because you can do street lights.
Yes.
So safety is a big concern, and that's our community, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you. I will accept a motion and a second to approve the item.
Move that we recommend approval to City Council.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
The motion passes. I'm sorry, was that a no or was that
Yeah.
a nay?
Nay.
That was a nay. All right, thank you very much. Motion passes. Thank you very much. I adjourn the meeting at 7:24.